Hey guys, it's your boy Progress, and welcome to a brand new video. If you want to follow my other social media, I've got my Twitter and Instagram on screen in the description, so if you want, then go check those out. But today I'm actually going to be trying something a little bit different, where instead I'm actually going to be talking about a few topics that have happened within the last month or so that either are directly about the music industry or more so the rap scene. Because it seems as though I'm always getting an endless amount of comments or messages of people who are asking me to talk about certain subjects that when I actually do start to look into it, it's either just too short, too conclusive, or way too recent to be able to actually form an entire video on by itself. And as I make more of these into the future, they will also be called a progress report. I know, an amazing name, right? Well, that name is actually courtesy of a commenter who made a post like 5 or 6 months ago. They wanted me to use the title for something a little bit different, but I saw it fitting for this series, so I'm gonna use it for this. So let's get into the topics. The first big story actually has to do with the fact that 6IX9INE has been released from a Manhattan federal prison because of COVID-19 and is now on house arrest. So, I mean, essentially, he's got the same freedom as everybody else, because it's not like we're allowed to go outside and do anything anyway. Now, the reason 6IX9INE was actually released does make quite a bit of sense if you look into it, because it turns out that the man has asthma, and for those of you who don't know, asthma is actually known to restrict and swell the airways, making it very hard to breathe. And the pandemic going on right now, COVID-19, just happens to also be something that attacks the lungs, so if he ends up getting it, you know, there's a very high chance he's, not gonna make it. But in all seriousness, one of the other big things that could be caused because of the asthma is actually that because with asthma, you usually end up coughing and wheezing a lot more often, there is a very good chance that even if 6IX9INE had the virus but showed no symptoms, he could actively be spreading it to a lot more inmates just off of that alone. Now, to contrast this though, another big rapper named YNW Melly has tried and failed so far to be able to get out of prison because of this virus. And get this, even though he has confirmed COVID-19. Yes, he is one of the people with it, and they have not released him even though he has asked. How he was able to get it in prison in the first place is honestly beyond me. I guess the correctional officers just have the absolute worst health and safety that is possible. But now, because of Melly so far not being out, a lot of people are kind of in this phase of, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what's going on here? Why isn't he being released? Because they see that 6IX9INE is free without even having the virus, but YNW Melly has the virus, and yet he is still being contained in prison. And of course, this has become a massive topic for debate amongst people as to why this is going on. But I think I'd like to offer a relatively easy explanation as to why they may have let 6IX9INE go, but not YNW Melly. But for those of you who don't know why 6IX9INE was in prison, it was because he was charged with racketeering, but this was after he had full cooperation with the FBI to try and eventually help them be able to bust one of the blood gangs that exists that is called the 9 Trey Bloods, which 6IX9INE was like technically a part of, but like there's a whole lot of stuff behind that, like the actual members of it just kind of were using him. It's a whole thing. You can look into it if you want. But either way, all that really matters is that at the end of the day, 6IX9INE's charges were non-violent, and because of his cooperation, I have a feeling that, you know, the police and FBI aren't really thinking that this guy's gonna be much of a problem if they let him out. Because let's be real, once he's finally free, he's got bigger problems to worry about. Now, when it comes to YNW Melly's side of the story though, it's a little bit different. For those of you who don't know, YNW Melly has a pretty extensive criminal history that a lot of actually has to do with violent tendencies. When he was 16, he was charged for 3 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and 1 count of discharging a firearm in public after shooting into a crowd of people just outside of a high school. Now, luckily nobody was injured, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't have been. Plus, he is also still on trial for the suspected murder of 2 of his best friends and other members of his YNW group, after police have now claimed that they have forensic evidence to be able to prove that although YNW Melly has tried to say that his friends were caught in a drive-by, there's actually possibly evidence to suggest that the shots came from within the vehicle, aka they think he did it. And on top of all of that, YNW Melly has been extremely outspoken of his multiple mental illnesses, that if you want, you can kind of look into those, because once again, that is an extremely extensive thing that he has gone and talked a lot about before. But from what we know, he has claimed that he has multiple personalities, which so far he has counted that there are 6 of them.
How many personalities do you have?
6.
6?
Yeah.
What are the 6?
I can only reveal 3.
But the one personality that he seems to speak about the most is named Melvin, and he has claimed that this personality is the part of him that actually loves the idea of harming others. So that's great.
Like Melvin, my other person inside, Melvin, that motherfucker, yeah, every day, all day. That's all he be thinking about. Some people think about when they wake up. Some people think about shoes. Some people think about weird shit. That nigga wake up with the murder on his mind. And I'm like, hey, bro, do you?
So with that much of a possible violent history as well as instability, that is probably the most likely reason why he is not getting released. Also, you know, it doesn't help when you take some mugshots like this and your last name is literally Demons. That's his actual last name. That's an unfortunate last name, by the way. Now, this next story comes from the rapper known as Ice-T, which is a little more on the sad side, but it does come with an extremely important message. That being that Ice-T has actually been extremely vocal on social media about people taking COVID-19 seriously. In one post, he made a statement saying, quote, "Hey, it could be a global conspiracy, bat meat, I don't give a F. The virus is real, and it will kill you dead. That's all I need to know. Don't play with this shit. Be safe, people." End quote. This is the type of stuff that people often end up skipping over while thinking about this whole virus, which is that no matter what the cause or intent of any of the stuff that has happened, at the end of the day, it has taken hundreds of thousands of lives and will continue to take many more if we are not careful and if we don't follow the precautions that have been put in place. This is not to say that looking into the virus and where it came from or why it exists isn't an important thing, because it absolutely is. But more so what he's trying to say is that this virus does not care where it came from, it does not care who you are or why it exists at all. All it is trying to do is infect your system, and eventually its end goal is to take your life. So for every single person, priority number 1 should be your safety, for not just yourself, but for your family and friends as well. And to emphasize his point, Ice-T also ended up saying, quote, "So far, I personally know 6 people that have been killed by the virus. Just because you may not know anyone, don't be stupid." End quote. Which is super unfortunate, and my condolences absolutely go out to anyone who's been affected by this, but it's really good to see that Ice has been fighting the good fight through this situation and trying to keep people in line, because Lord knows you don't want to be on the other end of Ice-T's anger. This man is absolutely ruthless and is not afraid at all to light you up on the timeline to everyone. Now, this last story, I wanted to end on a good note, so I'm actually going to be giving some props to somebody. Now, I'm not really a big fan of Cardi B's music at all, nor do I think that, you know, she's exactly been the greatest person through history, because, you know, there's a lot of things about her that are extremely controversial that she's done. But during this COVID-19 pandemic, she's actually done 2 things that I think are going to help a lot of people. The first thing that she did was on April 3rd, where she actually ended up donating 20,000 meal replacement drinks to different hospitals in the New York area. Which may sound a little strange to some people. You might be wondering, well, why didn't she just end up, you know, giving them meals instead? But for those of you who don't know, New York has become like the center of the pandemic for the US, with almost 3 times more cases and deaths than the second largest infected state, being New Jersey. So since New York is dealing with almost 300,000 cases, their hospitals are absolutely overrun, and I am sure that their staff there are having to work insane hours and insane shifts through this entire pandemic. Meaning that for the small or short amount of breaks that they are going to end up getting through this whole thing, they need to make sure that they are able to get an adequate amount of energy through the day that will match the amount they're going to output through all of their shifts. Which is why meal replacements make so much sense in this situation. The other great thing that Cardi B is doing right now is that on April 8th, she ended up teaming up with Fashion Nova to be able to give away $1,000 every single hour to different families that are in need due to COVID-19. With the end goal being that after they have donated all that money, it will have been $1 million donated, which is an absolutely crazy thing to have happen, because when you actually look at the math for that, that is 1,000 families that will be benefiting from this cause that she is doing, which is great. Now, whether this money is just directly out of Cardi B's account, or if it's, you know, Fashion Nova and Cardi B splitting it, or if it's just Fashion Nova doing the donating and Cardi B is just a platform they're doing through, is unknown, but I kind of think that that doesn't really matter at all. Because, especially in times like these, the fact that it's happening is the only thing that realistically matters, because a lot of people are really needing it. But that's probably going to do it for today's video, but I also want to let you guys know that in future installments of this series, I really want to incorporate something that you guys directly have asked me to do as a topic for this series. This video was directly themed with the COVID-19 thing, but the other ones probably aren't going to be so much. So all you have to do is go and find something, a topic that is going on in like the rap industry right now that's happened in the last like month or so, and if you think that I would find it interesting and normally wouldn't have looked into it, then leave that in a comment and I will end up like posting your comment on screen at the end of the video while I talk about that topic if I end up choosing yours. So that's all you got to do. Find something interesting from the last month or so that's going on that you guys want me to talk about from the rap industry, and I will post your comment in the video and address it at the end of the next one. And of course, I'd like to give a massive shout out to all of my patrons this month. It means so much to me that you guys donate what you do. I'd also though like to give a massive shout out to my $10 and up patrons this month, those being Farski, Midwestfunky, Helen, and Jojobean. Your donations help this channel so much to be able to continue to upload in the way that I have recently. So thank you. I am so grateful for you. But anyway, that's gonna do it for today's video. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, it should be art over algorithm. Goodbye.
Baby, I can't remember anything without you. I swear I wake up every day like, what did I do to deserve you? I never hurt you.